It was a quiet Tuesday night when my phone lit up on the counter. A message from Mom. "Don't call or come over. We're done. And don't even think about the will, sweetie." I froze. The air felt heavier, the tea in my cup went cold. No explanation, no warning, just a clean cut like she'd rehearsed it. I typed 2 words back. "Got it." Then took a slow sip of my tea, tasting the bitterness spreading across my tongue. By midnight, my phone was blowing up with missed calls and messages, and that's when everything began to crumble. People always said my family looked picture-perfect: Dad in his crisp shirts, Mom's pearls catching the Sunday light, my brother Brandon laughing loud enough to fill the whole diner. From the outside, we were the American dream family of Tulsa. But every dream looks perfect until you see the cracks under the paint. Dad Stephen Hayes built his empire one greasy kitchen at a time. The man could turn a broken-down diner into a full restaurant by sheer willpower and pride. He was the kind of father who believed respect was earned by obedience, not love. "The restaurants are our legacy," he used to say, pointing a fork at me over dinner. "You'll learn the business, Susan." I never wanted the business. I wanted light color and space, not the smell of frying oil. I wanted to design to build something that felt alive. When I told him I'd been accepted into an art school in Chicago, he laughed like I'd just told him a joke. "If you walk away from this family's work," he said, "you walk away from our support." He meant it. I paid my own tuition, juggling 2 jobs and student loans, while Brandon got a brand new car at 16 for helping out at the diner. Mom never stepped in. She'd pour another glass of wine, smile tight, and whisper, "He's just hard on you because he sees your potential." But I knew better. She saw what I saw. Brandon was the golden boy, the one they'd already crowned heir. Years passed. I built my design firm from a 1-bedroom apartment. Word spread fast. By 30, I was redesigning boutique hotels and luxury restaurants across Oklahoma. But at every family dinner, it was still about Brandon, his new project, his big ideas, my work. "Cute," Dad would say, barely looking up. When Mom got sick 5 years ago, I didn't hesitate. I paid for her treatments, her travel, every bill. When Brandon's new business venture failed, I wired $30,000 to clear his debts. When Dad's restaurant needed new equipment, I covered it. They always said, "Thank you, the polite, empty kind." Then came the next favor. Looking back, I think I kept doing it because I hoped one day they'd see me not as the outsider, not as the backup plan, but as family. Turns out family wasn't the problem. Their definition of it was. And the night my mother sent that text, I finally understood how deep that truth went. It started with a family meeting that felt more like a courtroom. Dad called it a discussion about the future. I should have known that meant Brandon's future, not mine. They gathered around the long dining table, the one lined with framed photos of Brandon holding trophies and ribbon cuttings from Dad's restaurants. I stood at the end, laptop open, ready to present my proposal, a sustainable design firm that could partner with hotels and restaurants across the state. Eco-friendly materials, long-term savings, a real plan, not a dream. I spoke for maybe 5 minutes before Dad interrupted. "You think hotels care about recycled wood?" he said, voice flat but sharp enough to slice. "They want cheap, not fancy experiments." Brandon chuckled without looking up from his phone. "Yeah, why don't you stick to decorating houses, sis?" Mom stood by the counter, pretending to rearrange napkins, avoiding my eyes. My hands trembled under the table. "It's not decoration," I said quietly. "It's design. It saves money, and it's the future." Dad leaned back, arms crossed. "We're not throwing money away on your pipe dream. Brandon's opening a new location that's our priority." Something inside me cracked. Years of sacrifice, the bills I'd paid, the nights I stayed awake worrying about Mom's treatments, all of it meant nothing. "Mom," I said, turning to her, "you've seen my work. You know this could work." She hesitated, eyes darting toward Dad. "It just sounds risky, Susan. You know how the restaurant business is." Her words landed harder than his insults. Risky. That was the same thing he'd said when I wanted to go to college. Then out of nowhere, Tara, Brandon's wife, spoke. Her voice was soft, but it cut through the tension. "I think it's innovative," she said. "Sustainability is a big deal now." Brandon shot her a look that could have frozen fire. She shrank back into silence. Dad waved a hand, dismissive. "Enough. Meeting over." As I packed up my laptop, I caught Tara's eyes. She mouthed something that stopped me cold. "I need to tell you something." Later that night, she found me in the driveway. Her voice shook. "Brandon's been taking money from the restaurants, thousands. He's hiding it." My heart pounded. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "I found the records. He's been lying to your parents for years." Before I could respond, Dad's voice carried from inside. "We need to finalize the will. Brandon's the only one keeping this family together." Mom murmured something too soft to hear. Then Dad again, firm and final. "Susan's off doing her own thing. She doesn't care about us." And right there in the dark of my parents' driveway, I realized how wrong I'd been. The betrayal wasn't coming. It had already happened. The next morning, my phone buzzed before sunrise. A new message from Mom. "Don't call or come over. We're done. And don't even think about the will, sweetie." I read it twice, then a third time. The words blurred like they were underwater. For years, I'd been the one wiring money for medical bills, Brandon's debts, and restaurant equipment. And now, with one message, I'd been erased. I sat on the edge of my bed, the city still half asleep outside my window. My chest felt hollow, not broken, just emptied. The kind of silence that comes after you've already run out of tears. I typed back 2 words. "Got it." No period. No explanation. Just 2 words. Then I set the phone down and walked to the kitchen. The tea kettle hissed softly. I poured the tea, the steam curling against the dim morning light. I lifted the cup, took a slow sip, and for the first time in years, the quiet didn't scare me. It felt like control. I opened my laptop. My banking app blinked awake. One by one, I canceled everything. Mom's hospital payments gone. Restaurant supply bills canceled. Brandon's loans stopped cold. Each click echoed in the apartment like a door closing. I wasn't crying. I wasn't shaking. I just felt lighter. For the first time, my money wasn't feeding their silence. It was buying my freedom. By noon, my phone started ringing. Mom first, then Dad, then Brandon. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Not because I was angry, because I finally understood how much power I'd given them. The screen lit up again. Another call, then another. By evening, there were 20 missed calls, 5 voicemails, and a string of texts. "You're tearing the family apart. How could you do this to your mother? You'll regret this, Susan." I didn't reply. I just turned the phone face down. When the clock hit midnight, it started again, a storm of notifications, buzzing and flashing like fireworks. And as I sat there, tea cooling beside me, I realized something simple and brutal. They didn't want me. They wanted the help. The version of me that never said no, that paid the bills and kept the lights on. That version of me was gone. I looked out the window, the city glowing gold in the distance. Somewhere a car alarm wailed, then fell quiet. "I'm done," I whispered, not to them but to myself. And for the first time, I actually believed it. By morning, the storm hadn't passed, it had only changed shape. 37 missed calls, 11 voicemails, dozens of texts stacked like threats waiting to be opened. I made breakfast like nothing happened. The smell of toast filled my apartment while the phone kept lighting up beside the sink. I didn't pick it up until one voicemail from Dad appeared with the word urgent. I hit play. His voice came through sharp, commanding. "You need to fix this, Susan. The restaurants can't survive without your help. You owe us that much." Oh. The word hit me like an insult. I'd covered hundreds of thousands over the years, my savings, my work, my time, and now it was a debt. Another voicemail. Brandon this time. "You think you can just walk away? You're selfish. You're leaving Mom in tears." Then Mom's voice, soft, trembling. "Please, Susan, don't do this to me. After everything we've been through." I pressed my palms against the counter, the cool marble grounding me. They weren't reaching out for forgiveness. They were reaching out for control. By noon, Tara called. Her voice was low, urgent. "They know I told you about the money," she said. "Brandon's furious. He's trying to spin it like you made it up." "Don't worry," I told her. "I'm done explaining myself." That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat by the window phone, glowing beside me, unread messages piling up. I should have blocked them. Instead, I watched them come in, each one a reminder of how desperate they were without my support. By the end of the week, I agreed to meet them, not to reconcile, just to end it properly. The cafe was one of the few places in Tulsa where no one knew our family. The air smelled like roasted beans and rain. They were already there when I walked in, Dad arms crossed. Mom pale but composed. Brandon fidgeting with his phone. Tara wasn't there. Dad didn't waste a second. You've caused a disaster, Susan. The bills are overdue. Vendors are threatening to sue. I set my bag on the chair, my voice calm. That's not my problem anymore. Brandon leaned forward, sneering. You think you're better than us now, don't you? Just because you play with paint and fancy furniture? I met his stare. Design, Brandon. The word you're looking for is design. He laughed, shaking his head. You've always been dramatic. You love attention, I cut him off. You stole from the restaurants. The words stopped him cold. Dad's brow furrowed. What are you talking about? Tara told me everything I said. The hidden accounts, the money that vanished. Brandon's jaw tightened. She's lying. She found the records. I replied, my tone flat. And you know it. Dad turned to him, eyes narrowing. Is that true? Brandon stood abruptly. You believe her over me. She's been jealous since high school enough. I said quietly. This isn't about jealousy. It's about respect and honesty. Two things I never got from this family. Mom's voice trembled. Susan, don't do this. We can talk. I looked at her. We're past talking, Mom. You made that clear when you sent the text. The color drained from her face. I didn't mean it like that. You wrote, don't call or come over, we're done. And don't even think about the will, sweetie. I quoted every word, my voice steady. You meant it exactly like that. The cafe had gone quiet. Even the barista paused mid-motion. Dad cleared his throat. You've always been too sensitive. I smiled faintly. And you've always mistaken cruelty for discipline. For the first time, I saw a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. I reached into my bag, pulled out a neatly folded folder and placed it on the table. I sold my sustainable design project, I said. A national firm bought it for $1 million. They all stared at me. I built that without your help, I continued. No loans, no family money. Just me. Brandon's mouth twisted. Good for you. Want a medal? No, I said. I just want you to understand that I don't need this family anymore, and you don't get to call me when things fall apart. Dad's jaw clenched. You think that money makes you powerful? I leaned forward slightly. No. Walking away does. The silence that followed was heavier than any scream. Mom finally spoke, tears welling in her eyes. We're still your family. Family doesn't use you like an ATM, I said softly. Family doesn't write you off when you stop paying. Brandon slammed his fist on the table. You're pathetic. You think you can just cut us out? I met his anger with calm. Funny. That's exactly what you did to me. He opened his mouth again, but I stood before he could speak. I'm not your safety net anymore, I said. Not your backup plan, not your excuse. Dad's voice rose. You'll regret this, Susan. I turned one hand on the chair. Maybe. But at least I'll regret it on my own terms. As I walked toward the door, I heard Mom whisper behind me, Please, Susan, don't do this. But I didn't look back. The door chimed softly as it closed behind me. The air outside was cool, the sun low on the horizon, painting the street gold. My phone buzzed again in my pocket, but I ignored it. When I reached my car, I finally let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Through the cafe window, I could still see them, 3 silhouettes arguing among themselves, their voices muted by glass. I wasn't part of that noise anymore. I took out my phone, scrolled through the messages, and pressed delete all. The screen went blank. Quiet, clean. I started the engine, the radio humming softly. For the first time, I wasn't driving away from them. I was driving toward myself. A year later, I heard the news through mutual friends, not from them. The Hayes restaurants were gone. The family legacy Dad guarded like a crown had crumbled under debt and lawsuits. Vendors sued after discovering Brandon's hidden accounts. Dad tried to fight it, but the numbers didn't lie. Brandon's name appeared in the local paper next to words like fraud and embezzlement. Tara left him quietly moving to Dallas with their daughter. Mom and Dad sold their house and moved into a smaller place outside Tulsa. I didn't feel joy when I heard it. Just a strange, heavy calm, the kind that comes after a storm has taken everything down and left the air clean. My firm had grown. I opened a second office in New York, traveling between cities, designing hotels that carried my name on brass plaques. Every now and then, I'd find myself in a lobby I'd created, warm lights, clean lines, quiet music, and I'd think, this is what home feels like when you build it yourself. One afternoon, sitting by the window of a cafe in Manhattan, I ordered the same kind of tea I'd had that night. The steam curled into the sunlight just like before. A notification blinked on my phone, an unknown number from Tulsa. I let it ring out, the sound fading beneath the soft jazz playing overhead. I smiled, lifted my cup, and took a slow sip. The tea was still bitter, but now I understood why it wasn't the drink. It was the lesson. Peace didn't come from fixing them. It came from letting them fall. People ask me sometimes if I miss them. The truth, I miss the version of them I kept hoping existed, the one that might have loved me without conditions, without a price tag attached. But that version never lived outside my imagination. Now, when I think of family, I think of peace, the kind that doesn't demand or drain. I think of mornings where no one calls to ask for help, and the quiet means safety, not punishment. Family isn't blood, it's respect. And silence, when it's chosen, can be the loudest form of freedom. If you've ever had to draw a line between love and survival, tell me in the comments. I want to hear your story. And hit subscribe, because the next story might remind you that walking away isn't weakness, it's winning.